I don't want you to die, Willie. I want us to be together. I want us to be together for a long time.
That is all I've wanted since the first moment I saw you.
Yeah, well, part one left off with them not being in such a great place. Like, she wants Billy to give up the hard life of criminality, and he doesn't even believe he's in the life, but he also doesn't believe he can leave it behind so easily. He wants to avenge his friend Tunstall, who was murdered in cold blood, and he feels that he has to in order to leave it behind. And that, of course, draws him like further into this war with the Seven Rivers Gang in the house, and further away from Dulcinea. But when they then pull Dulcinea and her family into the war, she kind of doesn't have a choice either. And I think she learns what it means to kind of be backed up against the wall and have to fight your way out. Literally, I mean, she literally learns how to do that. And so, yeah, I think that actually brings them closer together than they've ever been before. And I think it makes them empathize with each other in a way that they haven't before. And it certainly ignites their passion for each other more than it ever has before. Yeah. I mean, I think they're kind of evenly matched, which is kind of the problem. It's like, you know, what do they say? An unstoppable force meets an unmovable object. I kind of feel like that's what they are. They're just like, neither of them will budge. So it's bound to end in explosion one way or another. But they keep meeting each other on the battlefield, and neither of them can seem to really like end it, you know, with the other, or take the other one out of the equation. And I think there's something kind of like, I think they kind of love it. I think both of them kind of secretly love matching each other and seeing who comes out on top. And I think they don't want that to end. I think both of them kind of have too much admiration and respect for their adversary to really want to end it. Which no one else around them can really understand, but no one else around them has been through what they've been through together. And you know, they've like loved the same woman. Like, they kind of love each other. There's like, you know, it's a complex relationship. Yeah, and I think it's exciting to see where it goes. I mean, I think for the house and Major Murphy, played by Vincent Walsh so well, he's such a good villain. You know, his side, we learn a lot more about the politics in part two, and we started to learn about it in the first half, but I think part two delves into it even more, which is that, you know, every time we think we know who the baddest baddie is, you know, at first we think it's Jesse, then we meet Riley and Dolan, and then we meet Major Murphy, and every time it gets worse and there's a more like conniving evil man behind the events. And in this season, we've learned actually it doesn't even stop with them. It goes all the way up to Santa Fe and the Rings, and these guys who like are way more powerful than the Lincoln people will ever be, and have links to Washington and the president, and it goes all the way up to the top. So on that side, I think there is this, you know, for them at stake is like the empire that they've built, which is just this like powerful like machine that just keeps churning money up to the top. And for Billy and his friends, it's life or death. I think it's like more like, are they able to live a life of peace, or do they, you know, it's either that, they either fight for what they believe in and hopefully get to have peace at the end of it, or they don't fight and they get crushed. And I think it really is like a David versus Goliath story in that way. It's like an underdog story. I think it is indicative of what it would have been like, and most of the events that we show on the show actually did happen at one point or another. Sometimes the order is you know, in a new order, but yeah, most of it actually happened. So that's the crazy part, is when you know, we read it in the scripts and I'm like, that's crazy, and then you go to the history book and you see that it actually happened, and you realize like just how violent this time in America, but especially in the Western states, was. Yeah, I forgot what your question was. I'm so sorry, but yeah. Oh yeah, how violent does it get? I mean, it gets bloody. It does, because the whole town and people's lives are at stake. So at this point, also Billy is kind of full of revenge. Like, yes, there's the honorable cause, which is he wants to bring peace to Lincoln, and he wants to stop the corruption and stop the little people from getting trodden on. But also he is full of revenge for Tunstall, and he's sick of losing loved ones, and he doesn't want it to happen. And if it's going to happen, he wants it to happen on his terms. Good question. I honestly don't know. I'm not just saying that. We're not really sure where Michael might want to take it if we come back for a season 3. I will say Billy is, as of right now, still alive and kicking, and has fight left in him, and he's good at bouncing back. But I don't know. I mean, there's history says that Billy died at the hands of Pat Garrett, but also there's a counter history which a lot of people believe in. I'm surprised by how many people believe it, but that he survived and that Pat actually colluded to help him escape, and that he made it to Texas and lived out a quiet life. I'm not quite sure what I believe. I think I believe that he died in the kitchen when Pat Garrett shot him. But there's so many gaps in the history that it will be interesting to see where Michael chooses to take it. He could choose a completely different version of events that neither history goes into. I just have to forget it, I think. I just choose to forget it because he doesn't know that. But there is a nice poeticism to it. I think it does add a kind of this kind of melancholic poetry to the way he lives, where I'm just you can't help but know that if he's doomed, that I don't know, the fire has to burn bright and hot while he's alive, so I think that's maybe something that it makes me add to the performance. It's just this kind of, he's not going to be here forever, but while he is, he's going to leave a mark, yeah. But I also don't know. I could be wrong. He could have survived and made it out. I don't know. I think there's quite a big Venn diagram that overlaps in the middle. But there's also plenty that's different. I mean, I think I've been surprised by how I've heard from a lot of people who after seeing Hunger Games, then found Billy the Kid and drew parallels and liked it. And a lot of them, you might not assume that the people who watch Hunger Games are also going to be into a historic Western. But I've been surprised by how many letters and messages I've had from fans of both. So there is some crossover. I think they're both complicated young characters who are ambitious in their own way, who are lost at times, who are passionate maybe to a fault. And I also think what Billy has that Coriolanus doesn't have so much of is he really he's eager to do the right thing no matter what, even if sometimes it leads in the wrong way. Whereas Corio is willing to do the wrong thing in order to get out on top, So if you're looking for a little bit more morality, maybe Billy's going to give you more of that.